Hey, what's up guys, it is Saints fan and welcome back to another GTA 5 video. Before I hop into the topic I want to talk about, I will mention I'm doing a shark card giveaway on my Twitter, so if you need some extra cash before the DLC drops next week, you can go down there and enter. I'm going to be picking a couple of winners, so you might have a good shot at winning that. Also, as you're going to come to find out, this DLC is probably going to cost a ton of money, so the more money you have, the more cool items you can purchase. Now, getting that out the way, hopping into the meat and potatoes of this video, how much is everything gonna cost? We now know a lot more about this DLC because of the trailer that dropped this morning. If you haven't checked out my breakdown video, you can go do that. I will leave a link in the description. But this DLC looks crazy, man. There's so many cars. There's about 12, I think, in total new vehicles that will be added. Plus, there's the CEO stuff, there's the warehouse stuff. Now, I did answer this question in my Q&A, but that was before we knew about all these other cars. That was when we only kind of knew about the one Pagasi Reaper and just the CEO and warehouse. I'm actually going to run down the list of all of the 12 vehicles that we saw in the trailer, and I'm going to give you my best guess as to how much they will cost. We're going to be taking a look at what they are and then comparing them to other vehicles like them in the game. So we'll start with the first one, the Cargo Bob. We saw this at the end of the trailer and we still don't know if this is going to be something that is in free roam or if it's in a mission or if it is in free roam, but you only get it by being a CEO or a VIP and it's just a vehicle you spawn. We don't know that, but if it does come into the game as a Pegasus vehicle, then it would probably cost around $2.2 million. And the reason I give that number is because in single player, it costs $2.2 million. And I feel like that's a good amount that balances it all out. It is similar to some of the other helicopters in the game. And for what the Cargo Bob does, you know, it's a really valuable helicopter. Plus, it can take multiple homing launcher shots and still live. So 2.2 million, I feel, is a reasonable number. Next up, the Tugboat. This one, we have nothing to really base it on, but I said it would be around 1.5 million. That is a reasonable price, I feel. However, because it's a novelty item, because it's something from GTA 4 and it's something that's completely different, I feel like Rockstar could definitely raise the price here. They made a $10 million jet. It would not be surprising if they made this boat like $5 million. I mean, honestly, people would probably spend it, but I don't know if people would really like that to happen. The 1.5 million that I'm giving it though, I feel like that's a good price tag just because it is something new, something we haven't seen before. I don't know if it is going to have a purpose. We saw people standing on it, so it's relatively big. People were joking on my Twitter. It's the poor man's yacht. That's kind of what it's going to be. Next up, this one, the giant armored truck. This one is going to be the most expensive. I can already tell. If we're saying that this DLC is Heist 2.0 or the biggest DLC since Heists, then this giant armored truck would be like the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie's like $3 million. So that's why I say this giant armored truck is going to be $3 million, especially if it does have a mobile command center in the back, kind of how they teased in the trailer with like the weapon cache, and you can have people on the side. $3 million I feel like is a pretty reasonable price. It'll probably be like the tank or the insurgent where it could take a bunch of explosions and still survive. I definitely feel like this is going to be the most expensive vehicle from this DLC just because it's something that probably only the richest can achieve, and it's going to be the top tier of all the vehicles released with this update. Next up, we have the new plane. We don't really know much about it, but I gave it a $1 million price tag. I think the Miljet is like $1.7 million, so this, if it's somewhere near that, I mean, 1 million, people probably aren't going to buy it, but that's a reasonable price. The new helicopter, it looks like it's a new version of the Swift, or a different version of the Swift. The Swift, I think, is like $1.5 or $1.7 million. If you get just the regular one, obviously there's the gold one for $5 million, but that's too crazy. I said this new heli is probably going to cost $1.4 million. This might be the cheaper alternative to the Swift. Maybe it's not as fast. Maybe it doesn't have as good a handling or something. So I think $1.4 million puts it a little bit cheaper than the Swift that we have in the game. but it is also relatively expensive so Rockstar could get their shark cards. Getting into the cars now. So that we saw a new armored SUV, and people really don't know what this is. People were saying it's the Serrano, the Benefactor Serrano. Some people were saying it's the Recado. Some people were saying it's a completely new car. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I do know there's a Benefactor logo, or like, you know, the front of it has the Benefactor logo on it. So the Serrano might be the front runner there. But if we just compare it to the Baller LE armored version that came in the Executives and Other Criminals update, that was around 175,000. I would bet this one is a similar number. I put it at 150,000. It's a little bit cheaper. Maybe it's not as good. It's still armored, but I feel like 150 is a good number. The armored van, I put this one a little bit cheaper, although I could see how this one becomes a little bit more expensive. I have it at 100,000 only because it's a van. Like, even the lowriders, like, yeah, they might be cool to look at, but vans aren't practical. Like, even if you can open the door, shit out the side, they're just not that, they're not fast. They don't have good handling. You're going to get smoked if you're going against any other car in GTA Online. So I feel like out of these new armored vehicles or variants, the van is like the lowest tier. And then the SUV one that we saw is the middle tier. And then that moves me to the third one, the Dubsta armor that we saw for a split second in the trailer. This one I feel like is going to be the top tiered armored vehicle in this update. And I have it at 200,000. Although, if they do want to make it a little bit more expensive because it might be that top tier armored vehicle, I could see how it becomes somewhere in the ballpark of 500,000. It's a good car, and it's one of the best vehicles for selling if you want to make money, although I don't think they spawn that often anymore. The next one is the Enos Windsor Cabrio. This is the red and white car that you saw at the beginning. This one, it looks like it's just a different variant of the Enos Windsor that we already have in the game. And if you don't remember, the Enos Windsor costs $845,000. So probably in the ballpark of that. I just left that number the same just because if they're going to make a Cabrio version, I don't see them changing the price that much. And then that leads us to the final three supercars that they showed off in the trailer. So I'm still going with 2.5 million for the Pegassi Reaper, which is the Lykan Hypersport. I doubt they're going to make it 3 million just because I feel like that would make people way too upset. 2.5, that does make it more expensive than the T20, but it's not that much more expensive than the T20, so people won't get as mad, I feel. The green car, and we don't have a name for it just yet, I feel like is going to be the middle of these three supercars that they showed, the Pegassi Reaper up on top, the green one in the middle, and then the red one in are the lowest. But the green car, I feel like if it is going to be in the middle, it's going to cost 1.7, 1.9, somewhere in that ballpark. If they are going to make the Reaper 2.5, I could see how they make one of these other supercars where it might not be as good, but it's still really good compared to like the Zentorno, the Adder, the Entity, and they make it 1.75 just because it's new. People are going to go out and buy it, even though the T20 may still be better than it. And then that leads us to the red car, which somebody I think told me is a Ferrari, or it's based off of a Ferrari. This one, like I said, I feel is going to be the bottom tier supercar out of all of these. Like, it's still going to be really good, but just compared to the other ones, I feel like this one's going to be the redheaded stepchild, so to speak. I see this one coming in at 1.5 million. And the reason I say that, one, if it is a supercar, that's a relatively decent supercar price, at least of late. And two, if it's a sports car somehow, then 1.5 million, it'll be the best sports car. It'll beat the Massacro. And I think the Massacro is relatively, I think it's like 600-something thousand. And if they wanted to do what they did with the T20 compared to like supercars where they had all the supercars at like 1 million, but then all of a sudden the T20 came out and it was now 2.2 million. They might do that with the sports cars now and have this new red car bump up the price pretty high. But total, if you total all the numbers that I just gave, that leads us to around $16.1 million. Then that's just for all of those 12 vehicles. In addition to the vehicles, though, there's going to be the cost to become a CEO, to buy a warehouse. If there is a sixth property, you might want to buy that so you can add some of these cars to your garage. If you do have to buy the office, there's all of that to account for as well. And I feel like if we just say to become a CEO is like a VIP and all you need is $1 million, that'll make the total number 17 million. And then if you had another $1 million, because there's a 6 property, that's 18 million. And then if you have to purchase the office, maybe that's another million, or at least 500,000. So that's roughly 19 million. And then on top of that, if you purchase a warehouse, there are the small, large, and medium variants of the warehouses. But if you go with a large one because you want the most contraband storage, then maybe that's another million. And roughly, I would say 20 million is the base price for everything if you wanted to do that. Obviously, many people aren't going to buy everything. You might not buy the tugboat. You might not buy the new plane, the new heli, any of the new armored vehicles. You might only buy one of the supercars. And you might buy a medium or small warehouse. I don't know. I feel like that number is a reasonable number to go on. So if anybody was wondering, how much am I going to need to save, or how much am I going to need to purchase what I want? 20 million for everything. And then from there, you can sort of figure out, all right, well, look, if I just want one supercar, maybe one warehouse, and I want to become CEO, then it's only going to cost me roughly, what, $4 million, $5 million? So hopefully this video helped. Drop a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe for more awesome GTA content. I'm going to be doing a video later today showing off the new supercars and what they actually might look like in GTA. So hopefully you guys check that out. But anyway, that is it with the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, though, it's your boy Saints Fan. I'm out. Peace.